And joining us here today, we are talking about getting ahead of herbicide crop stress. Dan Kunkel with AMVAC is with us here today. He's the product development director at AMVAC. Dan, great to have you join us here on the show today. I hope you're doing well.
Thank you, Jesse. Yes, I'm doing very well.
Thanks for being here. And again, we're talking about herbicide crop stress. And I think about some of that plant stress. A lot of times, I think on the surface, folks think about plant stress from just weather, but we got to think about some of that, plant stress associated with foliar application of herbicides. I know that's a common issue that faces growers here across the country. Just to start, can you talk about some of those stressors and worries that are out there when it comes to some of that foliar application of our herbicides, Dan?
Well, so many things affect the plants as they grow. Herbicides are designed to control weeds, but they also do have some impacts on the crop as well. It's not always visual, but we know that it has some impact on the crop as well.
Well, and I have to think that some of those impacts, if they're not addressed or helped out with other products, I think about just setbacks in growth or reduced yields at harvest. I mean, there's so many different things that can happen with herbicides being applied to try and control some of those weeds, can it, Dan?
Yep, that's right.
Well, talk to me a little bit about some things that we can do to help out with this herbicide crop stress. I know AMVAC Green Solutions has a product called Be Sure. It's a biological. Talk a little bit about that product and how that can kind of help and go along with your herbicide applications, Dan.
Sure. Yeah. Be Sure is a basically an amino acid type of product. We sell it as a nutrient. It provides a lot of ready to use amino acids for the crop. So when that stress happens, the amino acids are readily available from Be Sure, and what we expect is that those amino acids can be incorporated into uh, building blocks for proteins, scavengers of some of the free radicals and whatnot that cause some of the injury that we see in crops. Uh, also, regulating some of the osmotic potential of the cells. So really, in a number of different ways, we see that Be Sure can alleviate some of those stresses that we see. Be it a herbicide, but this year in particular, we see how dry it is,
Hmm.
and we continue in product development to look at these different stressors and how Be Sure can alleviate some of those issues for the growers.
Well, and thinking about using a product like Be Sure along with your herbicide application, some of that post application, I know for farmers, the ease of use to combine the two together, it's super, super easy to do, isn't it, Dan?
Yep, we find that it's very compatible with all the products applied at the same time. So we've had very good luck with it. Again, like I mentioned earlier, in product development here at AMVAC, we just continue to look for the best way to position the product, and including it with a herbicide seems to work very well.
Well, and I think too, with all that product development you guys do there at AMVAC, obviously just the continued evolution here of farming, of agriculture, and looking at growing crops here the best way possible. It's always amazing to me, Dan, just the many things that folks like you go through and work on a day to day basis to try and improve what we do and what we grow in our fields, Dan.
Yep. We just want to understand our products and make sure we position them in the best possible way so they can be of the greatest value to the growers.
And that's what it is all about. Now, Dan, if folks want to learn more about Be Sure from AMVAC and work that into their crop management plan as they move forward, what would be the best way? I'm sure online, contacting the local retailer, a local AMVAC representative. I'm sure there's many ways to get in touch, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Yep. Your local sales rep. Again, our website has information as well.
I know that website is amvac.com. You can learn more, get started there as well. Dan, before we let you go, again, great thoughts on Be Sure. Just thinking about some of that herbicide crop stress. Anything we haven't mentioned that you would want to mention for us here today?
We've mentioned the herbicide stress. I've mentioned water stress, but also as the plant goes into maturity and starts forming, the tassel and the ears. If you're talking about corn, this product can also assist with some of the stresses associated with, forming the grain as it forms in the ear as well.
A lot of great things to think about. AMVAC.com for more information. With that, Dan Kunkel, Product Development Director at AMVAC. Thanks so much for joining us here today, and we'll look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Okay, thanks, Jesse. It's a pleasure, as always.